All right, I'm getting the sign that we should get started. So I'm not Stephen Young. Our CEO couldn't make the trip over from Cape Town, so I'm covering. I got a call 2 days ago, and he said, can you wing this conference in Berlin? So let's see how that goes. I'm a co-founder at NFTfi as well, and what I thought we could do in these 30 minutes is two things. I'm going to tell you a little bit about NFTfi, and by the way, who knows NFTfi here? Awesome. Actually, I wanted to gather some data here. So who actually here owns an NFT? Who? Almost all, like 80, 90%. Okay. Who owns more than one NFT? Okay, that's like 60, 70%. Who has used an NFT finance application? 1, 2. Okay. Who has used NFTfi? Okay, 1, 2. Okay. So it's fair to say we're early, I guess. All right. So I'm going to tell you about NFTfi, and then I'm going to go and talk a little bit about the landscape, because that's I think what the theme of the talk was. First of all, this is not financial advice. We're talking about financial products, and I think one thing that we've learned over the last, if you've followed the industry a little bit, that these are very powerful tools, NFT financial tools. Loans, for example, they can multiply your earnings. They can also multiply your losses. So make sure you understand what you're doing. If you don't understand something, don't use it. That's a learning many have done in a painful way in this space. Okay, so NFTfi is the leading NFT marketplace for NFT collateralized loans. So basically what you can do on our platform is you can go there with your NFT and you can list it there, and then lenders can make you loan offers. I wanted to do a video, but it didn't work out at short notice. But that's what the website looks like. Quickly, how this works. So you go on the website, you list your NFT, that's just a signature. Then the lenders see that collateral. There's over 150 collections by now, and so the lenders, they can see the collateral they want to lend against. And then you see the offers that the lenders make. So the lenders, they compete. It's a loan marketplace. They compete for, they want to get these loans, right? So they compete and try and get you the best offer possible. And then once you accept that offer, your NFT goes into an escrow smart contract, and you get that money. And then if you repay it, you get your NFT back. And if you don't repay it, then the lender can foreclose. This is how it works. There's no auto liquidations. NFTfi is a peer-to-peer loan marketplace. And we can chat about how this works more later. But I wanted to start out really talking about where we come from. NFTfi is 2 years old already. We went live in May 2020, right? So that's DeFi summer. That's before NFTs took off, really. And our founders really believed that virtual assets, that NFTs are more than virtual assets. So NFTs are not only JPEGs, they represent real opportunities. And then you wouldn't be here if you believed something different, right? So NFTs, they're not only massively empowering the creator economy, they are leading to very different community dynamics. They are ushering in a completely new era in gaming and in music. So these are virtual assets, but the opportunities are very real. And what our vision was 2 years when we started out is we said we want to be part of that mass adoption of NFTs and accelerate it and contribute to it using by building financial infrastructure. So let's go quickly back. Why financial infrastructure? Our story really starts with CryptoKitties in 2017, 2018, and some here might appreciate to see that vintage Hacker Tower collaboration CryptoKitty here. That's actually one of the pieces that one of our founders still owns. And back in the days, as a very small community, NFT world hadn't really taken off yet. There was just some of the NFT legends in the space like Jimmy and Pranksy and all of these sort of legends. They were already giving each other loans and renting out NFTs, but on a trust basis. So one person would say, hey, I have, and our founders, they had thousands of CryptoKitties. So we're very rooted in this early NFT culture. And so one person would say, hey, I need liquidity because I want a long ETH. And then another person would give him that loan, but say, look, if you don't pay it back, then I get your NFT. And so that kind of ad hoc stuff was happening back in the days. And at some point, our founder said, why don't we build a trustless application? And then a couple of weeks later, the testnet was live, and then in May 2020 we basically launched, and you can see that in 2020 it was really just a couple of hundred loans. It was really just this early NFT crowd kind of facilitating these value flows amongst each other, but it was very clear there was an uptick. I think until this month, for 2 years, we didn't have one down month, so it was really a perfect sort of growth story. And you see that like in 2021 was more than 100x the volume of 2020, and in 2022, let's see how it ends up now, but like the growth has been super strong. So we have overall done 190 million in cumulative loan volume, over 11,000 loans. 190 million, that's about 2/3 of all NFT loans that have ever been done. And I think the 11,000 loans should be like 60, 70 even percent. I'm going to talk about some of the stats later. What I put in, if we have time, is a couple of stats around what happens in this market environment in lending markets, right? So it's a bit choppy at the moment. What happens with NFT lending? That's quite interesting, I think. Okay, so I want to quickly talk about Harry. Harry is one of our platform users. What you see here on the left is the Motherland Monument in Kiev. And Harry is the person here in front of the pickup truck. He's one of our users, and he's a photographer. He's been a lot in Ukraine, and he's taking pictures and he's selling those. And so when the war happened, like, he was devastated, and he kind of shifted towards like a charitable work. So he donated money, but he wanted to do more. And so he happened to be also an avid doodle collector, and so he got a doodle loan that he used to finance that pickup truck, and that pickup truck is now in a city that I can't pronounce, but it's near Mariupol, and is evacuating folks over there. So that's a really cool story, and there's many exotic stories like that. But overall, the reason why people use NFTfi and take out NFT loans is they want to buy more NFTs, they want to flip NFT drops. So when the other D drop happened, like, we had a huge spike because people were basically taking out loans against their NFTs to claim more of these NFTs. Many in real life liquidity needs. So we have stories of folks that lost their job during COVID, and then they took out a loan and financed basically their expenses. Some yield farm. There's a player a user that plays Wolf game, and so he takes out money to kind of lever up on opportunities that he has in this play to earn game. So there's lots of use cases, and they all kind of come down to, you have more financial flexibility now that you have these NFT financial infrastructure tools available. And we get an interesting observation. It's very early in this space, super early in this space, right? So 1 or 2 people in this room have used NFT finance applications, but when you use it, so I would love to know our net promoter score, like, of people who have actually used us, because everybody's like super excited. Many have tripled or multiplied their portfolios, and it's really made a difference in lots of people's lives. This is, by the way, here, please don't tell my mom, that's not a kid. This is actually a senior mission engineer at SpaceX, and there's lots of cool stories and feedback. But so now this is not about NFTfi really, we wanted to talk about the landscape. So what is NFT finance? We at NFTfi, we define it as this new vertical in the Web3 space, comprising the infrastructure, and also the markets for NFT-based financial products and services. That's how we define it. So it's about financial products and services. So for example, a marketplace we would not say is financial infrastructure, because it is not infrastructure for the creation of financial products. But I'll talk about it in a second, what we mean specifically. So this is a landscape that I kind of merged from 2 reports that I can highly recommend you check out. One is by Matrixport, and it's called, you can see that here, NFT Financialization, Trends and Opportunities. The other one is by Nai Chen and Keson Patu. Unfortunately can't be here. She's from 1KX, and I highly recommend to check out her article called Show Me the Liquidity. And so there's basically these 5 areas, and I tried to do a bit of a time series there. So it's very visible how early we are in the space and how young this space is. So this was June 2019. There was really only trust-based and ad hoc NFT lending and NFT rentals going on, as I just described. Then a year later, in June 2020, we launched. So it was a very lonely space in the beginning, before the NFT space had taken off. But growth was there, so it was very promising. There was, we never really pivoted. There was really product market fit from the beginning, and we got more validation over time. Then a year later, in June 2021, there was the first NFT rental protocols launching. NFT Bank launched their pricing services, fractionalization, liquidity pools, NFTX launched. And then by today, it's a really busy space. So let's quickly go through these on a high level for those who haven't come across these. So in NFT lending, there's basically two flavors of NFT lending. So there's peer-to-peer protocols, and NFTfi is one. What that basically means is you go there and you can get liquidity, in our case ETH or DAI, directly from other platform users. And there's a couple of others as well. And you use your NFTs as a security for these loans. And there's different, there's loans is there's a wide design space, so different protocols, they have different features and so forth, but ultimately that's what it is. And then there's peer-to-protocol NFT lending projects, and there you can also go there, get a loan against your NFT, but the counterparty is a protocol that runs an algorithm that distributes typically money that's been paid in a liquidity pool according to some logic to you. So these are the two, and then there's a couple of other players in this field, like MetaStreet, who we work closely with, and we're gonna hear from later this afternoon. And they're basically scaling liquidity. So the interesting thing really in the NFT lending space is there's already some composability going on, and I'll talk about a bit later why that's pretty cool. But let's go to NFT rentals. So in NFT rentals, you can basically rent out your NFT against fees in different flavors. There is rather general NFT rental marketplaces like Rentft and more sort of application specific like Landworks, which kind of makes sense, right? If you think about it's just a different value flow structure and different features needed if you rent out your land, over a longer period of time versus you want to like rent out a Bored Ape to get into a party for a weekend. And so that's basically what these are. And then there is pricing that these are not financial products, they're financial services. So they are the Oracle services, and NFT Bank's actually speaking right after, I think. So I'm not going to talk too much about it, but they are useful in the financialization of NFTs. So peer-to-protocol NFT lending projects typically depend on pricing oracles. So they can take automated risk positions, and an NFT bank, for example, provides these services. Then there's fractionalization. Fractionalization basically means you put your NFT in there and you split it into a bunch of ERC20 tokens. A famous example was the Doge, original Doge JPEG sale. I think that was on fractional, right? And then there's liquidity pools, which is basically, in liquidity pools, you can also take your NFT, you deposit it into the liquidity pool, you get an ERC20 back directly representing that NFT. So you're not splitting your NFT into ERC20s, but you're getting one back and basically making it literally fungible. And then you can do all sorts of stuff with it, like you can deposit it on, you can provide liquidity in SushiSwap, for example, and make it a productive asset, or sell it, because these are very liquid markets. So that's, in a nutshell, kind of how this looks like. So the question is now how to make sense of this. There's a bunch of projects, and it's really a Cambrian explosion, right? So there's like they're all mushrooming at the moment, and so how to make sense of this. And one way to make sense of it is to think about when would you use which one of them, right? And it's clear that they are very application specific, and you need to case by case see what kind of liquidity needs do you have, right? So if you want to buy a pickup truck to donate it to Ukraine, you could sell your NFT, right? But you might not want to sell the NFT because you love that NFT and you never want to sell it, right? So then marketplaces and aggregators are sort of out of the question, right? So then you could say, okay, so I might do NFT lending, I might get a loan against it, or fractionalize it. And so how to make sense of this? And one way to make sense of it is to look at the pricing properties of NFTs. And this is a very cool study that Nightshine and Keson Pat from 1KX has done. What they've basically done is they have looked at the pricing distribution across like a whole bunch of collections. So the blue color represents floor assets, and orange is mid-tier assets, and green is grails. And basically what they said logically, differently priced assets have different preferred liquidity methods. So you would not say, and they basically say the price of an asset is basically a good indicator for which liquidity method could make sense. And what they came up with then is this matrix here where you see on the y-axis floor, mid, and top tier assets, and on the x-axis marketplaces, auctions, loans, fractionalization, liquidity pools, renting. So these are liquidity methods. So I'd recommend to check that out. We won't have the time to go through it all, but like for example, if you have like a super grail, like something super valuable, right? So that could make sense to fractionalize because you want to democratize access to it. You know, you will not find a buyer for this thing otherwise if you want to sell it. But it will make less sense to fractionalize a floor asset because you have other liquidity methods available that have a little downside. So this is called Show Me the Liquidity Evaluating NFT Financialization Methods. So you can check this out. All right, how big can NFT finance grow? This is from a study. We've actually done some research. I think I have a slide on that as well. Yeah, we've done some research where we looked into traditional art and collectibles markets, because currently the NFT space really is still, to a large degree, arts and collectibles, right? If you look at non-fungibles, if you look at reports, like it's still the major share of the space are arts and collectibles NFTs. So what we did there is we looked into the traditional arts and collectibles space, right? So fine art and I don't know, cards that you collect. So that's a whole industry, right? That's pretty big. And this space also got financialized, right? So there's a field called specialty finance. So all the big banks, they offer specialty finance services. So we looked at how financialization looks like in this traditional space. And what you can see there is that this whole space is about 70 billion, and that comes from a Credit Suisse report. And the financial sector in the traditional arts and collectible space is about 24 billion. So you see the penetration. You see quite a large penetration. If you look at the NFT market, and that's 40 billion, I think that's pretty outdated now. I think it's like 60. How big is the NFT market? Does anybody know? Like 60, I think 60 billion or something. And the NFT finance space, and this is also not exactly right anymore, but it's about 300 million or something. This is basically the loan volume and what goes through the other protocols. So there's a sub 1% penetration in the NFT space of financialization. So basically, like even if the NFT market wouldn't grow at all, like if it would just stay exactly the same, there would still be like 10, 20x sort of growth potential. Plus, and then obviously, like NFTs are not only traditional arts and collectibles, but are going to be like really an internet primitive that's going to be commonplace in most industries. And so if we believe that the NFT space will be at some point, or let's say, the NFT space at some point, let's see if it will be called the NFT space going forward, but let's say it is, it will be $1 trillion industry, right? So NFT finance will be hundreds of billions of dollars. So it can grow very big, basically. This is a research collaboration, so if you're interested in diving a bit further, also academically, into what is NFT finance, looking at NFT finance through a financial market theory lens, this is a research collaboration we've done, and 2 articles are out, 2 more are coming out this week. We're basically trying to make sense of what's happening in the space and looking into other industries, and we're seeing that there's lots of precedent that we can draw insights from, so I think you might find this quite interesting. One framework from the last article, it's not out yet, which is also why the framework looks a bit sketchy, is this one here. So we call this the NFT finance liquidity loop, and basically what this framework describes is an interplay between the financial markets, the NFT financial markets, and the NFT core markets. So let's quickly summarize what that basically says. So it's a theory, it's a mental model we've developed, which basically says NFT finance will be not only conductive, but potentially even required to get NFT economies mainstream. And so So there's the NFT art economy, collectibles economy, music economy. So these are economies are places where things are produced and traded and exchanged. And let's say collectibles, right? So there's no, let me describe the top level first. So what we do in this article series is we categorize financialization a bit differently than in the study that I just showed you. And we categorize it into equity-like, debt-like, and aggregation-like. And this might be a little bit academic now, but basically equity-like is fractionalization, debt-like is NFT lending, and aggregation-like is NFT funds, right? So there's different methods of financializing something, of creating value flows that are based on an underlying NFT. Sort of base, what these financialization methods basically do is they unlock value through different means, right? So they create liquidity, they create accessibility, they create utility for these NFT economies. So if you have an NFT and you can actually turn it into an ERC20 and earn liquidity provider fees, that is utility, right? So you're turning a non-productive asset into a productive asset. And this is what these NFT financialization protocols kind of provide, and a lot of that unlocked value typically stays within these NFT economies. So this is how NFT financialization kind of like creates more liquidity and helps basically increase the purchasing power of NFT holders and the NFT space, which then in turn allows us to build more cool stuff. And yeah, 95% of that cool stuff will go to zero, but like the 5% or whatever that is will be valuable enough and predictably valuable enough to make good collateral again for NFT financial products. So there is this feedback loop that's kind of, in our view, is going to lead to a very, very rapid financialization of this industry. There's another aspect to it maybe, and I'm going to mention this later. We think NFT financialization is going to happen much faster than financialization of traditional industries, because basically the financial markets and the financialization infrastructure and these core economies, they run on the same rails, right? So you have this compatibility guarantee that the blockchain provides, and like almost no pricing and information sort of inefficiencies. Basically, the financialization of an NFT is only a gas fee away, right? And if you compare that to sort of traditional financialization, say in the art space, where you got to, I don't know, carry your Picasso to a bank and do all sorts of paperwork, and it takes a long time and so forth. So it's just going to be much faster. And that kind of stuff we describe in that article series. So if you want to check that out, it's on NFTfi at medium.com. Okay, cool. So I wanted to provide a couple of stats because the market's been not so great. And so we've also realized this. So this is a Dune dashboard that Richard from One Confirmation has done, who's an investor in us. So you see there that we're going to have we were hockey sticking it for quite a while there, but we will have our first down month in terms of total loan volume this month. But what's interesting is, for example, to look at NFTfi loan APR. So these are the APRs in aggregate across like over time, and there's two, I think, interesting things that you can see. So you can first see that in the last sort of, I don't know, 12 months or so, APRs have been coming down, right? So that, and the reason why they've come down is that we've grown quite explosively here, right? As you can see. So there's more liquidity coming in, there's more lenders coming in, they're competing for loans, they want to make money on your loans, right? And that forces APRs down, right? So there's a sort of an on-chain competition. So it's cool to see basically that these free market dynamics are working. What you also see is on the last bar here, the APRs went up over the last couple of weeks, and that's also an aggregate here. So May obviously covers before crash and after crash. So there was so APRs actually went up more than you can see there. So what that basically shows is that like lenders are aware of a more risky environment, so they want to be compensated for the risk they're taking, and they evaluate these opportunities like forward-looking, right? So because they're taking the average loan duration is about 45 days on NFTfi, so they basically, having a more pessimistic outlook on the industry. And it's actually really interesting to see that because it's very pure data, right? So it's not opinion, and it's not like a machine learning model, or like It's really just what are people doing, right? And I think we're quite excited about like generating this data, because I think you can do a lot with that data, also outside of NFTfi. Then here you can see this is the average true loan cost. So that is basically APR, loan duration adjusted. So if you have like a 20% APR loan and you take out a 3 months, you have a 20% APR loan, you take out a 3 months loan, then basically you have a 5% true loan cost. And so what you can see also there is the true loan cost went down while the APRs went up, meaning that there's shorter loans. So which also might, we haven't really dug exactly into the sort of order book there, but like it reflects people are risk averse and they don't want to sort of commit capital for longer. So the loan duration went down. Now this is the most interesting, I think, a chart. So what you can see here is monthly NFTfi borrowers, unique borrowers and lenders. So you see here in May, we might actually reach the levels of April. So while the loan volumes are down, and that's mostly because the assets are just worth less, right? The assets have gone down, so the loan volumes also gone down that you can take out against these assets. The borrowers and lenders actually have not. So, and the interesting thing really is that this kind of shows that that people want loans, no matter the market environment. People are interested in giving loans, no matter the market environment, and they just adjust the loan terms in a free market sort of environment accordingly. So I think that's very promising for the space. So even if the market crashes, NFT financialization is still something that has product market fit and people want. Then maybe a couple of kind of takeaways. So we're early, very, very early actually, although that chart looked quite busy. So it's a blue-white ocean of stuff that needs to be built as NFTs go mainstream in terms of products, but also in terms of features in the current verticals, but also in future NFT verticals. I want to encourage everyone to come into this space. We're really just getting started. As you can also see in terms of the penetration of financial services in this industry, which is just like really not there yet. NFT finance will move fast. That's what I mentioned before. We think because this infrastructure and the core economies run on the same rails, we're going to see incredibly fast growth, and composability will accelerate innovation. So what we've, in our design philosophy, when we chose our design philosophy, we chose it with a view towards the entire financial ecosystem that's going to be built around NFTs. And so, for example, we represent loans as NFTs themselves. So NFTfi is a peer-to-peer loan marketplace, but each loan is represented as an NFT itself. So we turn capital assets, which most NFTs are, into financial assets. And so these financial assets, like an NFT, so we call them promissory notes. And these promissory notes, they can be used as sort of money Lego blocks in other protocols. And you'll hear from one just after this talk how that works. And so we believe that the protocols that build for interoperability, and there's actually really exciting other examples that are already happening today. They will do best. So if you build in a space, build for composability, and contact us so we can build something together. All right, that was my talk. We just invented this new slogan here: "We make your NFTs fly," and thank you very much for listening.